meeting is called to order, and I'll ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Kendrick is absent. All others are present.
Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a brief moment of silence? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the November 8th, 2022 meeting and the agenda of the December 13th, 2022 meeting in accordance with state law, city council, and housing authority policy. No, that's okay. I hate it when that happens. All right. Agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I'd recommend that we add in to the presentations a commendation for Chief Steve Swaney and add it to the end of the presentations.
Sounds great. How about council members? No. All right, then I'll need a motion to approve those agenda changes.
So moved.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Our first presentation is from the International Rescue Committee Resident Leadership Academy. Will Gosum Espezelda please come up to the podium and share with us? Hi. Yeah, bring up anybody who you want. Thanks. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Actually, we thank you for giving us the chance today in order to share some concerns and issues regarding the El Cajon City basic services. And actually, we are a group of graduates from Residential Leadership Academy sponsored by IRC in El Cajon. And my name is Farazdak.
My name is Alia. My name is Gulsum Ismailzadeh. I am the RLA in charge person from the IRC. I am the community engagement coordinator working for the IRC. And these participants were, attended to the Resident Leadership Academy program, which is founded by the County of San Diego. So they are graduated and they concern about some issues regarding their neighborhood and their, the community. They are graduated and they developed a CIP, Community Improvement Project. They want to bring some changes, positive changes, that they feel they are very necessary for their community, and they are presenting. Okay? Next, please.
I'm Yaksara.
Hi.
Hello, I'm Yasmin.
Hey, Yasmin.
Okay, as you know, that El Cajon City consists of a big population from different ethnicities and groups and cultural background. In 2022, the Bureau of Census in the United States is El Cajon City population has reached the 107,563 people. And in this city, we have a lack of some basic services and a few spots that we're going to go through the other upcoming slides regarding the street planning. And there are some streets in El Cajon City which is completely dark, and it's lack of street lightings in some neighborhood and some avenues. And also some streets are long, where are no crosswalking area, there are no stop signs, there are no bumps, so it can make it easy for people to cross the streets or enhance the walkability for people who want to walk instead of driving, actually. And some long streets in El Cajon do not have multiple traffic lights, but still they don't have anything that stop those fast drivers in order to maintain security and safety for these traffics in the city.
This is regarding the Valentine Street. There is the number, like when we came from the main street to the Valentine Street, from the 7-Eleven at the corner until the park, it's about 5 blocks, which about take 5 minutes. And from the Park Street until the Madison Street, it's about 3 blocks, and it take about 6 minutes walking. Then from Madison till the Broadway is about 7 blocks, which take about 6 minutes. So we need more cross line for the people to cross the street. Because honestly, previously, like many people, I see without because it's long distance, so cross the street with any part. Thank you.
And also, we have some proposed solutions for this issue, like supply and maintain the roads and the streets who are long with crosswalking areas or stop signs, because we know sometimes a traffic light is hard and costly. Also, it needs kind of allocation for money to be implemented. But at least we think about the crosswalking areas and also bumps that can restrict those people who used to drive fast, especially if there's nothing to stop them in the middle of the road, like there's no stop sign, like there's no traffic lights. Also, for those long streets that we suggest that if it is possible that to put some benches in a certain streets who are long, so it can encourage people, especially the senior people, to walk much better than using the cars, or somebody kind of drove them or something like this. So this is going to be easier for them to access the street, to walk, also to have rest or for a seconds on these benches, then they resume their walking. And finally, we suggest that some pumps need to be installed in those long part of the streets, so it can stop those fast drivers and encourage people to cross the streets safely without any risk.
So the beneficial for this program will be the Al Cajon people from all ages, also the Al Cajon City and the law enforcement department. So the project strength, it will be reasonable cost, enhance security and maintains public safety, also reduce the possibility of accidents and save life for people. The weakness, traffic delay during the day of the work while placing the road pump in the selected street, unfortunately, serve the entire population of Al Cajon and other people who visit the city from the outside, also enhance citizen participation in decision making. The threat that some driver might become aggressive when they see the pumps installed in target streets, considering that might affect the flow of the traffic, make their trip longer. Regarding the project, we have what we are trying to achieve. We are trying to achieve present safer and bright street vision to the city of the Al Cajon. Why we are doing this? To help more people and families feel safe and secure walking in the street in the evening. Which activities will be undertaken? First, install more traffic lights. Second, create bumpers or crowded streets. Third, increase the number of pedestrian crosswalks. Who will play a role in this? The Residential Leadership Academy participant, the community, and the city management. Who will fund this program? By the government. And when will be done by? It's within 6 months. So the outcome of this project will improve appearance in local community, increase in walk, bike, trips in area, preserve as more aesthetically placing. Also, in active belief, there are too few street lights and crosswalk facility. People would use trails if provided in their community. Also, we have positive feedback and support from all sections of the community.
Thank you for watching and listening, actually. Any question if you guys have?
Yeah, well, first off, how did this all come about? Is this part of a program that you are involved in, an academy, I think you said it was?
Actually, it is a topic that we chose based on our regular meetings that we specify some basic service delivery issues that we need that we captured already, and some people, they deliver these issues to us. And we try to make a proposal about these issues. Hopefully, if can be solved. I know things need time, things need allocation of money on something like this, but hopefully if you guys can, we try to attract your attention to these issues because they are in touch with the life of people and the safety of pedestrian and the people of El Cajon in all ages.
Well, it was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
Obviously, took a lot of work. I appreciate you doing so much work. Let me see if the council has some questions about this. Steve?
I think there's some good news already. This is actually a very comprehensive and well thought out presentation, so thank you for taking the time to meet and work on it. There's a new state law on January 1st in which pedestrians do not have to go to the nearest corner to cross a street in a crosswalk. They may cross mid-block with the provision. It's what a normal situation would be, or reasonable, I think is the word that's used, what a reasonable person would do in crossing the street mid-block. So that's a new state law in just 19 days. Of course, there are dangers involved with crossing the street mid-block, and you have to take personal responsibility for that choice. But that helps break up the long street thing. So that, I think the state gave you some help on that one already. The street lights, I think we've set aside about $500,000 in some certain census areas to put street lights in. The city manager would probably love to hear you about specific streets that you think would be a great idea. I'm sure he'd be open to that. Usually that helps bump those streets a little higher up the list.
We have a list of streets and avenues, actually, and pictures, so we can share it later if you guys need.
Oh, absolutely. Send those to the city manager. The speed bumps, little concerned because that would affect emergency vehicles. Imagine a fire engine, a police car, and an ambulance going over a speed bump. That might have a safety impact on public safety. The benches, I like. One of the things we've done with benches in the park over Promenade is installed a bar in the middle of the bench, making it difficult to sleep on the bench. And so I do like your idea of benches just for aesthetics around the city and things like that. So hopefully some of that is good news to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please.
So I want to make sure that everybody in your group knows to download the phone app that you can report. When you see a street that's quite, dark, you can download the phone app and you can report that dark street. That kind of helps give us a little bit more. Yes, I imagine that city staff will talk to you about it, but I encourage everybody, download that phone app, make those, requests, and it works. They get back to you very quickly, and I was using this app before I got on the council and got a street light in my cul-de-sac and the cul-de-sac next to me because it was very dark, and we were having break-ins. Once we got those street lights in, the break-ins stopped. And so it lights up the whole cul-de-sac. So I encourage you to do that. I also live on a long street. I live right off Mollison. Mollison is very long and a lot of very fast drivers. And I agree with my colleague, putting speed bumps in, while I would appreciate that because it would slow people down, the fire station that's right around the corner from my house would not. So please bear that in mind. But very excellent presentation. You guys did a very thorough job, and it echoes what we here on the council have talked about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Another questions?
Really quickly, I just wanted to thank you again for the report and investing your time into the city of El Cajon. We really appreciate it. I always say, and I know my colleagues say as well, even though we're a small town, the city's too big for us to see everything. And so we really rely on community groups and residents to come in and tell us there's a street light out, There's no streetlights here. There's speeders here. Because even though we live here, we don't see everything. So please don't let this be the last time you report to us and let us know any issues you see, because we really rely on the residents to be our eyes and ears out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next I'd like to invite Andrea Valdez, outreach analyst, to share with us about the California Department of Insurance. Hi, Andrea.
Hi. Oh, thank you. Use this clicker here. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. We good? Perfect. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it. For letting me present today. So again, my name is Andrea Valdez, and I'm an outreach analyst for the department's Community Relations and Outreach branch. I understand we have a lot of topics today, so I'll be mindful of your time. So today I'm just going to talk about a brief overview about the California Department of Insurance, also known as CDI. That includes a short update on our current consumer protection, then information on our senior resources, then what the California law on auto insurance is and why you need auto insurance. Then I'll introduce you to that California low-cost auto program, what it is, how you qualify, and how you can apply for the program. And then next, how we can partner together and share this with your community. So I want to start off by saying that we actually do not sell insurance. We regulate all lines of insurance, including homeowners, auto, life insurance, and many more. We also regulate the insurance companies, agents, and brokers that sell insurance, and California insurance companies collect over $340 billion in annual premiums, and that's what you and I pay in premiums. Your current elected insurance commissioner is Ricardo Lara, and he ensures that insurers are solvent, consumer complaints are addressed in a reasonable manner, and insurers and licensees play fairly in the marketplace. So everything that we do at CDI is to protect consumers from fraud and abuse. So what can we do for you, the consumer? Anytime you have a question about insurance, please contact us. If you're shopping for insurance and you want to know more, visit our website. A big one is if you're denied a claim or coverage, your agent or insurance company not returning your calls, call us. Please file a formal complaint. We're here to help you. So on our website, we have a lot of educational information about every line of insurance. We have resources, phone numbers. So that website is insurance.ca.gov. So just a quick update about our Safer from Wildfires. So when Commissioner Ricardo Lara came into office, he listened to California residents and first responders to tackle the immediate needs. And one of the major issues that we heard across the state is non-renewals and premium increases for homes and businesses. So to address this issue this year, Commissioner Lara launched Safer from Wildfires. It's our state's first large interagency partnership to protect lives, homes, and businesses by reducing wildfire risks. So it is a 3-step process. You can learn more about it online. The public hearing was held in April, and we should know more about it in 2023. Another thing that we offer at CDI is senior resources. So this is another program. It's our Senior Gateway portal, which is a one-stop shop for caregivers and for seniors and their caregivers. It's a partnership between many state agencies with everything in one spot. You're going to find information on topics such as avoiding and reporting abuse and neglect, preventing fraud, healthcare information, and your rights. And that website is at seniors.insurance.ca.gov. So one big thing that we do offer at CDI is our California low-cost auto program. So you know you need to have auto insurance. It is the law. If you drive a car in California, the law says you need to have evidence of financial responsibility. So one way is to buy auto insurance. At minimum, you have to have liability insurance. Liability insurance means if you cause damage to someone else's property, you have to be able to pay for it. It will not cover damages to the car that you caused. If you get pulled over, you have to prove you have auto insurance. You can be fined, your license suspended, your vehicle impounded. All these costs could add up to more than would it be for the state-sponsored program. So, our CLCA policy offers the basic minimum liability coverage to drive legally. Since its inception, the program has evolved, and now it's available to almost all to moderate income Californians. As long as you are income eligible and not a bad driver, you can qualify. So you're probably asking, how do I qualify? First, you have to have a valid driver's license. Second, the value of the car has to be under $25,000 and not financed with the loan. Next, check your income level. It is based on the number of people in your household. You have to be at least 16 years old. And lastly, you cannot have a bad driving record. If you have more than 1 point on your record or an at-fault accident with bodily injury, you will not qualify. So we do have our income eligibility guidelines here. If you have a 4-person household, the maximum income level is $69,375. And it's based, if you qualify for other programs within the state, then you will qualify for this program as well. You can show your proof of income, so a paycheck stub, W-2, 1099, or any statement or benefit from an unemployment or SSI statement. And if you're currently enrolled in another state or county program like CalFresh, CalWorks, Medi-Cal, you're also going to qualify for that CLCA program based on income. So you can apply by going online to mylowcostauto.com. You can take that eligibility questionnaire. It's only 7 questions. You can fill out an online application, and then an agent's going to contact you to gather those documents and collect that down payment. And then any other questions, we do have a chat feature. It is also available in English and in Spanish. So you're probably thinking, yeah, we have a lot of great resources at CDI. So just help us get the word out. Share the CLCA program info on your website and social media platforms. Invite us to your outreach events. I attend so many of outreach events in San Diego, whether it's seniors, CLCA, Safer from Wildfires has been a big one as well. And refer us to any partners that work to low to moderate income households. In addition, we have a lot of free brochures. I can always get those out. So any more questions on that CLCA, you can go to mylowcostauto.com. Any other questions with insurance? Again, I always like to remind complaints. If you have any complaints, we do have our consumer hotline there. That's at 1-800-927-4357. Thank you so much for having me today. Any questions?
Well, something tells me this is not the first time you've given this talk.
No, I present a lot, yeah.
You've done it a couple times? Nice. A lot of great information. I had no idea that that program even existed.
Yeah.
So let me see if our council members have any questions for you. All right. I think you were so pervasive in your presentation that you answered all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. And now we have a commendation for Fire Chief Steve Swaney. Chief, would you mind coming up? And Council, would you mind coming down?
Steve, if you want to come in.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, we were notified by our Fire Chief, Steve Swaney, that he decided to retire. And we have really enjoyed working with him, and his staff put together a commendation that I'd like to present on his behalf. Or, Mayor, you have it, but I'll read it if you don't mind, Council. Commendation honoring Steve Swaney. Fire Chief Steve Swaney has been providing emergency services to East County residents for 4 decades. He has been with the City of El Cajon for 37 years, sharing his expertise with our community. He joined the El Cajon Fire Department as a firefighter paramedic in 1985. With excellent leadership skills, work efficiency, ingenuity, and perseverance, he quickly progressed through the ranks. Steve was promoted to fire engineer in January 1999 and fire captain later that year in 1999. Battalion chief in 2010, division chief in 2013, and ultimately leading the Heartland Fire and Rescue Department as a fire chief appointed in October 2018. Prior to his service with the City of El Cajon Fire Department and then Heartland Fire and Rescue, he was an EMT paramedic with the county for several years. Steve later became a flight medic and worked in critical air to tend to patients while in the air. In 1992, Steve joined the California Task Force 8 Urban Search and Rescue as a team member. After deployment to the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Game bombings, Steve started the K-9 division with the task force, where he was first partnered with Sherman, a devoted chocolate Labrador. Steve and Sherman became the first K-9 team search team in the county ever to be certified by FEMA. They served several local missions before being deployed to Ground Zero shortly after the 9/11 terrorist attacks in New York City. Steve was also partnered with 2 other canines during his time in the Canine Division, both Icon, a yellow lab, and Tank, a black lab. Steve and his canines are deployed on numerous search and rescue missions during their time together, and was instrumental in helping to train other teams throughout California. Steve is not just a mentor and a leader in this county, but also across the state of California. He was deployed on many fires and emergency incidents where he worked as an essential member of the incident management team in carrying out the team's mission. Steve has been a long-standing contributor, supporter, and cadre member of the San Diego Wildland Preparedness Exercise. Steve has been a committee member and a liaison to the county's chief section, has served as the chair and board member of Heartland Training Facility and Heartland Communications Facility Authority. Steve's contributions to the city, his forward thinking, his can-do attitude have endeared him the respect of the department, his colleagues, and community. From hire to retire, Steve Swaney will always do what's right and do what's best for the city of El Cajon, the department, and the region. We are fortunate to have him represent us and have this caliber of man in dedication to be part of our team. Now, therefore, on behalf of Bill Wells, Mayor of the City of El Cajon, together with the City Council, they do hereby commend and congratulate Fire Chief Steve Swaney on a very successful career at the City of El Cajon and Heartland Fire and Rescue. We all wish Steve and his family good health and much happiness for years to come.
Start them off at their very beginning of the career. So this city is an outstanding city to work with. I did my paramedic internship here back in 1983, and this is the only department I applied to work for, and I got hired and I've been here ever since. So it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Got staff here, outstanding executive team, outstanding leadership in the city. It's been my privilege and honor.
Thank the chief again. He served us with honor and distinction. We have a fire department that the entire county looks to, that we're proud of at the state and even the national level. And so much of that is based upon all what you brought to the city and to your department. So thank you so much for your service, and I hope that you enjoy your retirement.
I will.
Mayor, as you head back to the dais, we read a lot of Steve's resume and some of the big accomplishments. But, those are easy to put on paper. And I'll be honest, a lot of us could do that if we spend 37 years with the fire department. But it's the little things that Chief Swaney does. It's the innovativeness. It's always willing to do anything for the team. It's what's appreciated. And someone shared with me a story of when he was a lowly fire captain with the city of El Cajon. And he was had another, now a fire captain, but a new firefighter paramedic on his crew. And that firefighter paramedic had a fire in his own house, burned down his kitchen. And Chief Swaney came in on his day off, unannounced, with all the supplies and equipment, and rebuild that firefighter's kitchen. That's the kind of guy that Steve Sweeney is, and we just need more people like that in the world. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. All right, we're now at consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you want to pull any of the consent items? Staff?
No, sir.
Angela, do we have any speaker cards for consent items?
We do not, sir.
All right, then I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
We're now at public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, City Council and Housing Authority members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any cards under public comment?
Yes, sir. We have one from Kenneth Kestner.
Hi, Mr. Kester.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello, Mr. Kester.
When I came here, getting ready, opened the door, and there were two motorcycle cops 20 feet away from me. Okay, that's inconsequential right now, just random, but it'll come out later. I'm asking you to ask your police chief to give me 4 hours in one of your interrogation rooms. I have a lot to talk about, and I'm the most stalked person on earth. I can prove it. And I can't do it here in 3 minutes. And if I just go to them and they're not going to do it. So right now, this is between you and me. I'm one of your citizens. I'm asking you to tell your police chief Friday I'm going to come here at 12 noon at the police station. I'm going to ask the clerk for the police chief. Hopefully he'll come out and take me to an interrogation room. That'll be videoed, and you're just going to leave me there. And you're going to video it, and you're going to let me spill my guts about what's happened to my life in this area and everywhere else, and a lot of things will become clear. I would also like someone from the state fire. I'm not talking to the fire department here. I would also like a number of someone from the state fire department. I have something to say to them. Marshal, something, I don't know if there is, or an FBI agent or a state police officer. But I'm not going to go through any locals here. So I will be by Friday at noon at the station up there, and I just want to be put in a room. I want it videoed, and I'm going to spill my guts. Please accommodate me, sir.
Thanks for coming. It sounds like you've been through a lot. Anybody else?
No other speakers, sir.
All right, there are no written communications on today's agenda. We have 2 public hearings on today's agenda. Item 12 is regarding alcohol sales at Parkway Plaza, and I'll ask our staff to tell us about this. Hello, Noah. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. All right, so this item today is a request by the Aldi Grocery Store Company to amend the specific plan for Parkway Plaza, and that's to allow more businesses to sell off-sale alcohol at the mall. So the Aldi Grocery Store is currently under construction and is located on the east side of the mall, and it's in the former location of the Office Depot. So Aldi had previously requested to add alcohol sales to the store, but that request was denied by the Director of Community Development, as well as by the Planning Commission. And that's because the deemed approved alcohol sales ordinance dictates that we can't add additional off-sale alcohol sales licenses to census tracts that have an over-concentration. So following the Planning Commission hearing, staff met with Aldi store representatives and tried to think proactively about solutions. Ultimately, what staff in discussions with Aldi found is that an amendment to the specific plan for Parkway Plaza would be possible in order to implement the general plan. So some of those general plan goals and policies, they seek to maintain the mall as a competitive regional shopping center, as well as to retain and increase the number of major tenants. So you can see with Aldi as a grocery store, not being able to sell alcohol as being an impediment to their overall business operation. So from staff's analysis and perspective, it made sense that someone shopping at the grocery store may want to purchase a bottle of wine or other types of alcohol, and that a store such as Aldi would be appropriate for potentially relaxing those standards just for the mall. So if this specific plan amendment is approved, it would allow large grocery stores, retail stores, or pharmacies that are over 10,000 square feet in gross floor area with no more than 10% of the floor area devoted to alcohol sales to sell alcohol only at the mall. So staff is recommending approval of the specific plan amendment as it will allow the mall to continue to serve as a regional asset and as well as being able to help attract other major tenants that may wish to come to the mall that want to have a small portion of their sales related to alcohol sales. So in conclusion, staff believes that the proposed amendment to the specific plan would be consistent with the general plan and our overall goals for redeveloping the mall and would be a benefit for Aldi coming in as the applicant. So that concludes staff's presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, no, thanks. Before we get to the questions, I do want to commend you and your staff for looking for a creative way to solve this problem and to be customer service oriented. You know that a lot of times government works like the DMV, where it's, sorry, can't help you, go somewhere else. And that's not what they got here, so I appreciate that. Okay, Council, do you have any questions for Noah? Yes.
So I'd like to, as I'm kind of looking through this presentation we got, it looks like it's a 24,000 square foot facility at Parkway Plaza. And am I looking at how many square feet for beer and wine? We know the 10% limit, but what are they proposing?
As I recall, it was about 4% of their overall floor plan. We do have the representative from Aldi here that can speak to that presentation.
Oh, I see. Only 4% of shelf space for beer and wine. Yeah, at some point, I think the Aldi reps would be great to have a say, if that's okay with the mayor.
Of course. Yeah.
At some point, but that answers my questions. Thank you.
Well, let me see if there's any more questions for Noah, and then we can get the Aldi reps up. All right. Thanks, Noah.
Great. Thank you.
Sir, if you'd like to come up and introduce yourself.
Sorry for earlier, my phone. I was actually trying to turn it off, so it's kind of indicative of my age.
I thought you were trying to entertain us.
What's that?
I thought you were trying to entertain us.
My name is Skip Janes. I'm a director of real estate with Aldi. Mayor Wells, thanks for having us here today. City Council staff and members of El Cajon. As Noah said, we're here today to ask you to approve the Planning Commission's decision to amend specific Plan 19 and allow for grocery stores to have a beer and wine license at the Parkway Plaza. I think we're going to be a great addition to Parkway Plaza, and there's been some great things happening over there in the last couple of years. We, again, applaud the staff's work to find a solution for us and with us and make an easier, convenient shopping trip for the citizens of El Cajon. We'd also like to thank the rest of the city staffs as well, from our applications to our construction documents. They've been fair, thorough, and very expeditious with our documents. We appreciate that. Your Planning Commission received our full presentation. I don't think I need to go through all of that to here today with you guys. I can certainly answer any questions you might have. They were very thorough in asking about our program and what kind of measures we have in place to make it a safe and convenient shopping experience throughout the entire store, including the beer and wine area. We're more than happy to answer any questions concerning the store. We look forward to joining the community. We're looking forward to hopefully a February opening.
Wonderful. That's fast.
Yep. We're almost there.
All right, Steve, you had some questions?
Is the permit request just for beer and wine only, or at some point will we be adding other than beer and wine?
No, even our national program only includes beer and wine.
Okay, thanks. And to the city manager, is the specific plan amendment for all alcohol or just beer and wine?
It would be all. That would accommodate other types of stores.
Okay,
but it'd be inclusive.
Okay.
Michelle?
I just want to thank you for bringing Aldi to El Cajon. We shop there regularly up at the top of the hill. Now we'll save more gas and go just down the street. I know that the community is excited about you guys coming in. I've heard, I've heard more pros than cons than having the grocery store in there, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the mall. Thank you, and I'm all for it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, any more questions? Well, thank you so much. We're looking forward. We need more grocery stores in this area, so thank you so
very much. I appreciate it.
All right, let's see if there's any speaker cards on this item.
No, sir, no cards.
Okay. Then I need a motion then to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Well, it seems like a pretty easy decision, Council. I'm open to discussion, or if somebody would like to make a motion.
I just want to add a quick comment. I think this is, as Michelle said, on all of the social media posts that I've seen, speaking face-to-face with board members and members over at the Chamber of Commerce, the excitement for Aldi coming to El Cajon Valley Floor is absolutely over the top. I mean, people, like Michelle said, are driving to the top of the hill to go there. They're extremely excited. And I think this is completely reasonable to approve alcohol sales on Parkway Plaza. If we want it to be a premier area for people to come to, then that's just a service that we have to provide. And so thank you for Aldi for bringing this up, because to be honest, this is probably oversight on our side, on the city side, to not have this approved. Who knows how many other awesome facilities we could have had, but you lucked out, you pushed through. So thank you very much for your work on this.
I do believe there has to be a distinction between a corner liquor store and a large grocery store that's providing beer and wine. Steve?
This is more than just Aldi. This is a specific plan for the entire mall. And if we're going to attract tenants with the quality of Aldi to the mall, and the malls need some revitalization. So if we're going to bring in national brands to revitalize our mall, we're going to have to be more flexible. So I think this is a great amendment to the specific plan for the mall, because it's more than just Aldi. Aldi's the pioneer in the sense of this, and it takes a pioneer brand, a pioneer integrity to get this thing going. So we hope you're not first and alone. We hope there's other good, well, I think there are other good people on their way as well to enjoy. So we're just grateful that you chose El Cajon.
Somebody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to adopt the next resolution approving the California Environmental Quality Act exemption, and adopt the resolution approving the amendment to the specific plan number 19.
Second. All right, moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Congratulations. We look forward to seeing the store in January, right? January 2nd? Okay. No, February, right? Okay, we'll be there in February. The second public hearing, item 13, is a zoning code update. I'll ask our staff to tell us about this.
Thank you.
Noah, again. Hi.
So, Mayor, again, Noah Alvey, Community Development Department. So, as stated, this item is the 2022 zoning code update. This request is actually the first of two planned updates. We do plan to have the second portion of the zoning code update in the first half of 2023. For this item, it's primarily related to economic development initiatives as well as implementation of the general plan housing element, including some recent housing-related state laws. We also have some other minor changes to improve clarity and consistency in the interpretation of the code. So first, for economic development, the update does include new definitions for alternative fuel vehicles, as well as biomedical offices. These new definitions and updates are really intended to set the stage for these types of uses being able to come into the city so that they're not required to go through some type of zoning consistency review or other procedural type zoning approvals that are necessary. Also related to economic development is a new zoning code chapter for development agreements. We don't have that currently in the municipal code, and it would allow an alternative process to accommodate major developments or to have certain combinations of uses or certain unique development standards or timing criteria in conjunction with a project. For the housing updates, those are primarily related to the items that were identified in the housing element, which was recently approved by the state of California. So Program 14 of the housing element says things that we were going to do in this next coming year related to primarily state housing laws. So the new regulations apply to emergency shelters, low barrier navigation centers, transitional and supportive housing, density bonus regulations, accessory dwelling unit requirements, and then also objective design standards. Staff also included regulations for urban lot splits. That was a law that was passed by the state last year and signed by the governor. That law was passed after the adoption of the housing element, but we went ahead and included that as well. I do want to emphasize for all of the housing mandated items in the housing programs, these are all being mandated by the state of California. And so our implementation is consistent with those state regulations. So lastly, on the miscellaneous items, we did include allowing music lessons as tutoring as a home-based business. We've had some home-based individuals operating out of their home that wanted to do that, and it seemed like a reasonable accommodation, so we brought that forward. And then we're also proposing to extend the emergency housing pilot program through 2024, just to allow additional time for implementation and evaluation. So staff's recommendation is to approve the 22 zoning code update, and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Noah. I appreciate that. Any questions? Steve?
Did I hear you say the emergency cabins at Meridian's through 2024?
Yes. So the emergency housing pilot program was originally scheduled to end in 2023. So just since they're getting off the ground now, we wanted to allow additional time for implementation and tracking.
Great idea. Thank you.
Any other questions? Noah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Any speaker cards on this item?
We have no cards, sir.
Okay. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right. Looking for a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll move to adopt a resolution approving California Environmental Quality Exemption and move to introduce the first reading, the next ordinance in order approving zoning code amendment number 2022-002.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present, and the title of the ordinance is an ordinance approving zoning code amendment number 2022-0002 for an amendment to Title 17 of the El Cajon Municipal Code for economic development, housing, and other minor technical changes, revisions, and edits.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just one second. Graham, can I ask you? Sorry about that. Okay. Where are we? All right. Item 14 is the selection of deputy mayor. I'll ask our city manager to please introduce this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Our municipal code says that there should be a rotation of the deputy mayor every December in association with the last election. So staff recommends that the City Council consider that tonight or designate one of the council members to serve as the deputy mayor. Our city clerk looked at the history of the rotation and Councilmember Goebel, it would be the next to naturally rotate into that position, and staff would recommend that Mr. Goebel be appointed as the deputy mayor. So with that, it does require the city council's approval of that.
First off, Angela, any speaker cards on that item?
No card, sir.
Steve, are you willing? Okay, he says yes. He's ready for. I make a motion then to appoint Steve Goebel as the deputy mayor for this next coming year. I second that. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Thanks, Steve. Item 15 is the Downtown El Cajon Business Partners Annual Report. I ask the city manager to please introduce this item.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, the agreement. So the city of El Cajon instituted a PBID, or a business improvement district, which is voted on by the property owners that are in the jurisdiction of our downtown area. Because staff does not have the resources to, or the city doesn't have the resources to operate and run that, the city has entered into an agreement or a management agreement with the downtown El Cajon Business Partners. And part of their management agreement requires them to present annually a few different items. One of them is an annual report, budget, audited statements, things like that. So the purpose of tonight's or this afternoon's agenda is for the downtown partners to present their annual plan, to make sure that the council is okay with the direction that they're heading, and to answer any questions that you may have about the audit. I don't see anybody from the downtown partnership here to present that. So with that, staff, council, you can either push this to your next meeting for a more robust discussion, or you could receive and file.
Well, before we start that, let's hear from the public. I know there's a card on this.
Yes, sir. We have one speaker, Rich Reel.
Mayor, City Council, first of all, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. It's always a joy to see a well-run government, and I'm 75 years old. I've been involved in government almost all of my life, and I got to tell you, you're the best. That being said, we're talking about the PBID that didn't show up today. First of all, I don't think you should receive the report today. I would ask that you postpone that report and send it back to them and tell them they need public input. This is a violation of the Brown Act. In the last year, they've held four. There you go, four. Got to get that. They've held 4 meetings, okay? And in those meetings, I went to every one of them. The agendas are all available. There is no mention of the annual report. There's no mention of any of the finances or anything else. All of this was developed behind closed doors in violation of the Brown Act. The whole idea behind the Brown Act was to allow us as citizens access to the government so we could at least have some input. I had no input on this business statement here, and without public input, you're not going to get any better. These are the same people that have been running it since you put it into operation in 2012. I've provided services for the PBID. I've watched the PBID. I've attempted to use their services, and I'm telling you right now, it's a closed shop. I would suggest to you that what we ought to do is we ought to not shut the PBID down, but we ought to put up the downtown. We ought to put up the administration of the PBID to the public. In fact, I've already talked to the Chamber of Commerce. PBID should be a member of the Chamber of Commerce. They're not. The PBID should be involved actively with businesses downtown. They're not. In fact, one of the things that they say in their report here that I was not aware of, they claim that they have business retention and recruitment. I was looking for rental space, and I never got any help from them. I have no help from them at all, and I think we ought to rethink whether or not we allow these people to administer the tax dollars, because they have no concept that they work for the public. So I would ask that, one, you not discuss it. You send them a message and tell them show up and explain to us why this was developed without any public input, or better yet, give them another 60 or 90 days and tell them to come back when they've had public input. Thank you for the courtesy of listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Oh, thank you, sir. Okay. Any other speakers?
No more cards, sir.
All right. I'll make a motion then to close public hearing. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right. Graham, I know we're not going to be passing judgment on what happens at the PBID, but I am curious about this, the legalities of this Brown Act issue. Is the PBID, when they have public meetings, are they required to allow public comment?
They are and they do. Their meetings are held in public places. In fact, I believe the last few meetings which Mr. DiMaggio has attended have been in city facilities or in a place that is publicly accessible.
Has there been any attempt to stop the public from speaking or weighing in on the issues?
I haven't been at one of those meetings. Mr. DiMaggio is shaking his head to say no.
Thank you. Questions?
I guess the question was, are they subject to the Brown Act, not have they publicly noticed meetings?
Yeah, the answer is yes on that.
You're saying they are subject to the Brown Act?
To the Brown Act.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll leave it up to the council. You know, I think we should accept the report, but I think that we should, somebody should give the gentleman the ability to make a complaint with the FPPC if he feels like his rights have been violated, and we go from there.
Well, he has an open law. He has an open lawsuit right now with the Downtown Business Association. So I think that's his course of action.
Does anybody feel differently? Anybody would like to ask the PBID to come back at a later time, or I'm comfortable accepting the report and letting this lawsuit work itself out in the courts.
I'd like to see them come before the council. It's $500,000 of dues they get from people every year, and the city's one of the largest contributors, and I think we representing the public, they should be accountable to the public, and they should come face the public.
Well, that's a good point. All right. Would you like to make a motion then?
I'll move that we postpone this item to a meeting in January. I don't have a strong preference whether it's the first or second meeting.
No,
We'll try for the first meeting. I think that would be appropriate, and if they're unavailable, then we will schedule for the second.
Is there a second? Second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right. Well, I'm sure they'll come and answer the questions. Thank you, sir. Item 16 is a City Council Action Plan report, and I'll ask our City Manager to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The purpose of this agenda item is to provide an update to the City Council on the goals that it established earlier this year. As you saw in the staff report, there's a full matrix that explains every single goal and where staff is at with each of those goals, whether it's been completed, it's ongoing, it's in process, or it's incomplete. I'm not going to go through every detail of that, but I thought there's some value in kind of highlighting some of the big successes and some of the things that are still outstanding that need to be worked on. And then kind of really to prime the pump for the council as you think about reconvening as a body to discuss goals for 2023. We're hoping to do that in January. So as you recall, there are really 6 priorities that the council established: revitalizing the downtown, economic development, city beautification, dealing with homelessness or addressing homelessness, public safety, and then there's always some miscellaneous goals. So with that, really fast, I won't go through all of these, but these are some of the really big ones. It's a shame Mr. Ryle didn't stick around, but Mr. DiMaggio has been working on an analysis of the PBID through a third-party vendor. So we're currently trying to procure the services of somebody to analyze, is the PBID effective? Is there a better way to assess? Is there more efficient way to attract businesses? And so that's being worked on right now. Really excited that the economic development strategic plan is complete, and now it's a matter of figuring out ways to implement, and that will be addressed we'll be bringing some ideas of how to implement that as part of your goal-setting session. We are working directly with students at San Diego State University addressing Parkway Plaza. They're doing a big re-envisioning of that. They're looking at examples of other malls that have gone through some resurgence, looking at our current land space there, ability to expand the mall, ability to add additional concepts or uses at the mall that would complement each other. I guess Sam can go through all these because they're all exciting stuff. After working for years with MTS, and thanks Mr. Goebel to help pushing this forward, we were able to get them interested in the parking lot in El Cajon. They have identified a development company, Chelsea, affordable housing developer, to build housing there. So now they're working out the negotiations of what that deal looks like. But we were included as part of that process, and I think it's going to be a great catalyst project. We also have started a pilot program of utility wraps, and I'll show you a picture of that. And we also have started installing heavy gauge, that black rubber fencing around our channels, which are really difficult to cut through to avoid some of the intrusions into those areas. So here's the wrap. I sent the council an image of this in the one near the library recently. And we're hoping to do more of these as part of this pilot program. And this is the type of fencing that is starting to go up throughout the city in certain areas. We also, as the council remembers, you approved the launching of the neighborhood cleanup program. So that's pretty exciting. We installed the homeless widget on our city app. In fact, I think that was done within, Ms. Diaz got it done within, I think, 2 weeks of the council approving the plan. We did redesign with the council's guidance the no panhandling signs, and those have gone up. We got the MOU, the homeless MOU with other neighboring jurisdictions accomplished. We yet have a project that is associated with those, but the MOU is in place. We developed a an anti-speeding campaign that was derived directly from high school students, and so we're working on the implementation of that now. And then we've almost completed our outreach to different veterans groups for a future Veterans Memorial. So some of the incompleted projects include, and we've been working on this for several years, working with the county to look at some of excess land that we have in the downtown area to develop it. It's pretty apparent that the county is not going to help us drive that. So the assistant city manager and I are working together now to just market our own properties. We will probably throw the county's properties in as part of the package, and if there's an opportunity for them to consider, then they'll have that opportunity to do that. We have yet to meet with the 5 different owners of Parkway Plaza. Getting them together in one room has posed a challenge. One of the goals that we had last year was to develop a comprehensive mural program for the underpasses that has yet to be accomplished. We have not had the ability to apply the MOU for homeless shelters. We almost were there, but we did not come to fruition. We have not developed a homeless strategic plan in the East County subregion. We are currently implementing the pilot street camera and license plate reader program, but that's still a little ways off from happening. We put the securing a local lobbyist on hold as we've been dealing with some of the other issues. And then we have yet to identify the exact location and the scope of the Veterans Memorial. We're hoping to bring that to the City Council sometime in January. One of the challenges that we face is we had some unexpected crises happen this last year. We've also come to the realization that spending ARPA money, you've heard the saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch. ARPA money is no free lunch. There's a lot of work that goes in that. It's federal money, so everything that we do from a procurement perspective is about double the amount of time. So it has been challenging for staff. One of the things that I'll be recommending as part of next year's goals, I think it needs to be in the goals, is to actually spend that ARPA money, and that needs to be a priority, because if we don't spend it, we will be turning money back. And so I think we need to be cognizant of the amount of time that it will take to get those programs procured and those things out the door. So with that, staff is hoping that we can conduct the city council workshop in January, then bring the findings of that workshop to the council in a discussion in February, and then ideally the council would adopt its next council action plan in either late February or early March. So with that, staff's here to answer any questions or receive any feedback that you would like to provide staff.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Nice report. Questions? There's speaker cards on this item?
No speaker cards, sir.
All right. Well, it's a comprehensive report. I think the staff's doing a good job of following up on the things we've asked them to follow up on, and ready to take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, in this case, I think it's just we'll take any feedback that you have there. I don't think there's any motion unless there's
We don't need to receive the
unless
report.
there's some specific direction that you want to give us.
I think just stay the course.
Will do.
All right, there are no commission reports on today's agenda. Item 17 is my activity report, which is as reported. Item 18 is the recommendation for city council assignments. And Graham, do you have that list?
I do. It's in the agenda. I don't have it as a PowerPoint, but based on the mayor's recommendations, those assignments will stay the same as they were last year, if that's okay with the city council.
Is everybody happy with those times? Okay. Are there any speaker cards on this item?
No, sir.
All right, I make a motion then that we accept the recommendations. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
We are now at activities reports for our council members. Councilmember Goebel. As reported. Councilmember Ortiz. As reported. Councilmember Metchell.
As reported.
Item 23 is a joint councilmember report from Councilmembers Goebel and Ortiz. This is an important one. Please tell us about your findings.
Mr. Goebel, Mr. Ortiz, I have your PowerPoint loaded, so if staff can give me access to the projector. Thank you.
While we're loading that, I'm going to go back to my comments, my report. I noticed Prop 31 passed in the state of California. That affects a lot of retailers in El Cajon, and that is the flavored tobacco proposition passed by 63% of Californians. That ban will take effect in 8 days in the city of El Cajon and throughout the state of California. It has exceptions for hookah tobacco, loose leaf tobacco, and premium cigars, but it will eliminate the sale of everything from cotton candy, vaping, to menthol cigarettes.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, but I would be curious to hear what the enforcement plan is on that.
Yeah, we can bring that. We'll provide a memo to the council on that. I can tell you that, but just really quickly, I've noticed actually some of the flavored tobacco coming off shelves already in preparation for that.
Okay, on to the ad hoc committee update at Safe Motels. I think I'll yield to Councilman Ortiz for some opening comments on health and safety and things like that.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Goebel. So after meeting with various operators, owners of hotel, motel, meeting with staff, looking at data, this really, a lot of our recommendations are going to be coming in conjunction with the health and safety, not only of the residents that are staying at these hotels and motels, the employees of these hotels and motels, the businesses surrounding them, and the residents. I think that some of these hotels have been problems for a long time, and I think revitalizing some of our compliance standards and maybe introducing some new compliance standards to ensure that the safety of our residents and the visitors of our city are secure. Mr. Goebel is going to be going into a lot of data that we've dug up. He's done a lot of great work. But the recommendations I think that we've come to are going to not only serve our residents, but also cut down on calls for service, loosening up and releasing some of our firefighters and police to respond quicker. So with that, please, Mr. Goebel.
Okay, in the current situation, we have 16 motels and 2 hotels, the 2 hotels being the Courtyard and the Hampton Inn, a total of just under 1,000 rooms. That's actually a pretty large number for the city. We have 33,500 total dwelling units, so roughly 3% of all dwelling units are motel rooms in the city of the city of El Cajon. I'm not sure of any other city that has 3% of their dwelling units as motel rooms. This does not count the SRO, single room occupancy locations that used to be former motels and former problems, which aren't as big anymore. Our smallest motel is 10 rooms. Our largest is 183 rooms. That's the Motel 6. Next slide, please. They currently operate under the Deemed Approved Ordinance we established in 2019, and they have performance standards that have to be met to maintain that Deemed Approved status, and you can see the list there. What we're focusing on today really is perhaps the nuisance activity. Next slide, please. Just a general difference between motels and hotels. In a motel, guests typically don't enter their room via a lobby. They can drive it right up to the room and enter the room, and they have less staff than a hotel. A hotel may have front desk, housekeeping, a bar person, a gift shop person, something. Motels typically don't. There's fewer levels and floors of a motel and fewer rooms typically than a hotel. So the motels really were a big thing in the 40s and 50s as a different experience on the interstate for people versus a hotel in a major city. So we have 18, which is, I think, a lot for our square mileage of a city. Next slide, please. By the way, there's also some good background information available from the Department of Justice from a January 2005 publication called Disorder at Budget Motels. While the principles and the information is from 2005, they're just as relevant today. This particular background study will talk about the correlation between room rates and calls for service. In other words, the lower the room rate, the higher is the call for service. It will talk about the impact of locals versus travelers, that some of the budget motels have as much as 80% of locals living in them, whereas hotels have 80% of travelers. It will talk about a tipping point of mix, that if at some point you get too many low-budget customers, you will permanently lose your high-end travelers because of the calls for service and the things that it attracts. And some locals do find that the motels are more attractive than apartments because you don't have to come up with your first month, last month, and the security deposit. You can just pay day to day or week to week. And you get free furnishings and utilities as part of your motel room. So it's very attractive for people who are either transient, going from town on a short-term employment assignment, or those who just can't afford the things that apartments require. And also, this publication does talk about a calls for service standard, which is interesting. Next slide. So here in El Cajon, let's talk about calls for service, police and fire combined. Next slide, please. This is the 18 motels listed on the bottom from 1 to 18. I've removed the names so that we're not calling out anybody in particular. The blue lines are police. The red lines are fire. The green line is a standard of 1 call per service per room per year, which is a common standard as referenced in that DOJ publication. This is for the 12 months ending October 2022. The fire is October and the police were in June, still 12 months. There is some duplication here as if the police showed up to address something and then they had to dispatch fire or vice versa. You may have some small amount of duplication here. You can see that 4 motels and hotels are under that 1.0. 2 of those are the Hampton Inn and Courtyard. The other 2, interestingly, are existing budget motels. They know how to operate with less than 1 calls for service per room per year. It's possible to do. 5 of them are between 1.0 to 1.2. That means, you know what, you're not far away from that standard. Maybe we just need to have a conversation. Maybe we need to sit down and say, is it a training issue for you? Do you have a new manager who all of a sudden is not realizing that you should have been calling a security company instead of the police? So we think there's an opportunity there. But there are 9 motels between 1.2 to 2.5, and certainly that's a concern. You can see most of those higher numbers are calls for service from the fire department, for the fire department. So combined, that's a lot of calls in total. Last year it was 1,400 calls for service. That's down from roughly 1,900 the year before, which was the pandemic when things were shut down and people were being put into motels. So now that things are opened up, that explains the drop from 1,900 to 1,400. But 1,400 for 18 motels is still quite a bit. I bet that's probably an average of around 70 calls or so per property. This is what we need to address in our deemed approved lodging ordinance. Next slide, please. So I guess what we're recommending is that staff go back, look at the deemed approved lodging ordinance, set a calls for service per room per year standard. Certainly the DOJ publication and an Arizona State publication recommend 1.0 calls for service per room per year. That's combined police and fire. Second recommendation, set a communication plan to initiate and collaborate, especially collaborate with those not meeting the standard. Perhaps, as I mentioned, it's just a training issue at the motel level on what truly is a emergency requiring calls for service for police or fire. Third, if we're going to implement greater enforcement of this, I think we need to provide solutions as well. We need to provide ideas to cure any deficiencies, including best practices. And finally, number 4, establish a compliance plan for better health and safety of all motel guests in nearby neighborhoods. For example, a crisis house in Santee does use the voucher program to send victims of domestic violence to some of our motels for immediate safety for the evening. Those people deserve a healthy, safe place to be while they're escaping a dangerous situation. So this is a compliance plan to address the safety of all motel guests and the nearby neighborhoods. So the current deemed approved plan in Ordinance 17.12 or 17.212.070 is very general when it talks about what's a public nuisance. And we're asking city staff to come back with specifics so that we can begin to have a better operation of motels in El Cajon and enforcement for health and safety. And with that, I'll pass it to Councilman Ortiz for any other comments.
Just want to add some clarification for our reasoning to base everything off of calls for service. I think we owe it to the council. Instead of using crime as one, because reported crimes or convicted crimes doesn't encapsulate all of the nuisance and all of the incidences that occur on these properties. And so really, a call for service doesn't really report all of the incidences that occur because some people don't call during these incidences. So the calls for service, I think, is underreporting the actual incidences that are occurring on these properties. So we felt that that a call for service would be a good standard to encapsulate the actual incidences that are occurring, because obviously it's underreported for incidences, and it's very underreporting with regard to crime. So I felt like we needed to add some context with regard to justification for using that call for service standard.
Also, with calls for service, if we're going to hold them to a standard to not exceed, a natural question is, are you going to discourage people from calling the police or fire? And the particular studies so far say no, that did not happen. And in fact, if 4 motels and hotels in our city know how to do it, it's possible to do. We're not asking them to reach a standard that no one has reached yet. People have reached that standard. So clearly this is an operational issue, not a calls for service discouragement.
I want to add to that, it's not just 4, it's the ones that are floating around a little over 1 call per service. So there are motels that are operating very well, and it's absolutely possible for these smaller motels to do that. You don't need the resources of a Hilton or a Marriott to accomplish that. It's evident here in our city that these motels are able to operate in that fashion.
And when it comes to a public nuisance, what we're saying is be more mindful of who you rent a room to, because that is what is driving calls for service. It doesn't matter where they came from. It doesn't matter who paid for the room. It's being mindful of who you're renting and what outcomes might come from renting to high-risk people. Remember, at motels, they don't have to go to the front lobby to get to their room, and we're concerned about the impact of that lack of visibility in some of the operations and impact of the neighborhood.
Is that the end of your report? I have like a million questions, but is there any data that talks about, let's talk about medical issues, because I saw a lot of that was fire, which means probably 99% medical, right?
Yeah, let's go back to the slide of calls for service.
So, of those fire department involvements, is there any data as to what kind of medical problems we're seeing? Are we seeing, medical emergencies? Are we seeing drug overdoses? Or is that unknown?
We don't have it for this report, but I'm sure our fire department could categorize some of these calls.
Because that would be interesting. Because obviously, when you're talking about people that are unable to access the apartment life and they're having to stay in hotels, it may be that these are people that are more prone to more medical problems in general because they're not taking care of their health properly. And so it would be good to know. But if it's like 80% people or 85% people that are having some kind of problem with drug overdoses or a reaction to drugs, that would be good to know as well. It would be nice to know how many people were having psychotic episodes. Because those things are certainly something that the hotel operators could have some input in as to whether or not, now if most people are having heart attacks or strokes and those kind of, I certainly can't hold the hotel owner responsible for that. And then I'd ask the same question about police and fire. Do we have any data as to what kind of disturbances that police are going out?
We do, and there were some, I think a few motels that we actually had a spreadsheet of the description of the type of call.
What was the most prevalent?
If I recall correctly, it was disturbance of some kind.
Like fights, arguments. Okay. All right. Well, that's really interesting. More questions? Well, I tell you what, it's a really comprehensive report. I mean, you could dig into this all day long. So go back to your conclusions again, that what do you see as a possible solution?
Well, you bring up a good point, because there are those who are low income who use this as their housing because they can't afford apartments. Are they at risk because they have health conditions? One of the frustrations is of an existing motel owner is they're getting people with the promise that those guests will get wraparound services, and they say they're not getting the wraparound services. The service provider is not showing up. So certainly, as part of the recommendation, we could include some type of coordination with the county for those in need or something, depending on what the medical call summary tells us.
Well, if nothing else, if we did a better job of keeping track of the kind of disturbances happened and then identifying the number of times where a county service provider could have made that situation better but wasn't available or hadn't been there, then we can hold the county accountable for spending the money like they say they're going to spend the money.
I think if the council goes along with the recommendations of that ad hoc committee, I think it will put the onus on the property owners, not on the city of El Cajon, to ensure that their property is operating in a good way. Whether it's a voucher program, if you're a property owner and you're allowing homeless vouchers, now all of a sudden you have an incentive to ensure that Equus or whoever is doing the wraparound service. Now you are the ones that will help be driving that quality of service that I don't think exists now. You'll be more motivated not to rent your room to high school kids to have parties. You'll be more motivated to not rent your rooms for prostitution purposes, right? So I think this program, if it's set up right, will give them more responsibility to be selective of who they are renting to without being discriminatory.
Do you think that there would be some value, though, in having ongoing dialogues with these folks so that when they had frustrations, like, say, for example, that we want the county to come out and help us, but they won't come, they won't send anybody, they say they will, but they don't necessarily have the efficacy to make much happen in that respect, or where we might.
Well, that's what I kind of heard. I mean, that's what I heard from the ad hoc committee is if a motel hits a trigger, and I think Mr. Goebel used the word collaborative, right? So now we go, hey, you've reached this threshold. What's going on? And we'll help them figure out what's happening. And maybe it's a new manager that's not following the rules, or maybe it's a county program or county contractor that isn't helping. There are some things that we could help with, and we can provide some solutions. We can send the police department out and look at some environmental changes to the property. We can recommend best practices to them.
So would there be any kind of deterrent for crossing that threshold?
That's what number 2 says, or number 4 says establish a compliance plan. What's the first step? What's the second step? What's the third step? In what time frame? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
So there eventually has to be some kind of a stick along with the carrot, right?
Yeah, a sample could be a phone call is step 1, a letter is step 2, a meeting is step 3, and a hearing is step 4.
Yeah, revocation of permit is part of that.
And then does that put us at odds with the Attorney General's office, who has different thoughts on
I don't think so, because we're not addressing where the funds came to pay for the room from.
Right. The real issue that the Attorney General has concern is with the income discrimination is the term, and that's using somebody's income to discriminating against a person for their source of income. So a perfect example is a landlord discriminating against a Section 8 recipient, and in doing so in a manner that violates the law. So that's what we want to remember, is we aren't focusing on income. We're focusing on behavior with this ad hoc committee recommendation. Behavior and operational standards, really, by the property owner or the operator.
Thanks. Well, that answers my questions. Obviously, a lot of work. Thank you. Were there any speaker cards on this?
No speakers, sir.
Okay. I don't think we need any kind of a motion, do we?
Well, I think we need a motion for the council to accept these recommendations, which then directs staff to actually do some work on this and bring it back.
Do you, staff, do you have any other questions on direction?
No, I don't believe so.
All right, I make a motion to accept the recommendations. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
There are no general information items for discussion and no other first readings or ordinances. Item 24 is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend a section of Chapter 13.37, and I'll ask our city clerk to read the title. But first, Angela, are there any speaker cards for this item?
We have no speaker cards, and the title is an ordinance to amend Section 13.37.040 of Chapter 13.37 of the El Cajon Municipal Code to eliminate building sewer inspections related to residential property improvements.
All right, looking for a motion then? Second? Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right. Thank you, Angela. That brings us to closed session. We have 3 items on the agenda. Our city attorney will recite the title and lead us in the closed session.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. The first item is item number 25. It's a closed session for conference with labor negotiators. The agency's designated representatives are Graham Mitchell and Marisol Thorne. The organizations that negotiations will be conducted with are the El Cajon Mid-Management and Professional Employees Group, the El Cajon Municipal Employees, and the El Cajon Professional Firefighters Local 4603. Item 26 is a conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, significant exposure litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 of subdivision D of section 54956.9. It's one potential case. It's a matter that we discussed previously. There are facts and circumstances described on the agenda. To summarize, it deals with the warnings that were sent to 7 motels about violations of the city's good zoning code, and the response from the State of California Department of Justice, Office of Attorney General, and their concerns with the warnings violating the state's Fair Employment and Housing Act. And the third item is item 27. It's a conference with legal counsel for existing litigation pursuant to paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9. And the name of the case is First Main Partners, Inc. versus City of El Cajon et al. Superior Court case number 37-2020-00022053.
I think make a motion then to adjourn the closed session. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to closed session, and we'll be back in a few minutes and conclude the meeting. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back from closed session. I will pass it to the city attorney, who will report on the happenings of closed session.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. The City Council met in closed session on the 3 items described previously. On the first item, item 25, the conference with labor negotiators, direction was given to the negotiators. On the second item, for conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, previously the council had authorized the city manager and the city attorney to engage special counsel services to deal with this issue that's described in facts and circumstances. The city council has decided to end that assignment, and so there will not be an engagement of such an attorney. And item 27, the conference with legal counsel on existing litigation, direction was given to the city attorney in that matter.
All right, thank you. This brings us to adjournment. The adjourned regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council and the El Cajon Housing Authority, held this 13th day of December 2022, is adjourned until Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 at 7 o'clock p.m. Thank you very much.